Hello, Namaste. This is Hariharan Iyer, the Enter Trainer, and I welcome you to this very interesting video, which is very useful if you are a trainer or you want to become a trainer or you want to learn some amount of training skills, some basic training skills. So this video is going to be of great utility for you, and it is called the 4 quadrants of facilitation. When you facilitate a training program, a workshop, whether it's a half-day workshop or it's a full-day workshop, or whether it's a 2-day workshop, whatever it might be, you have to use the 4 quadrants of facilitation. Why? Because facilitation is not teaching. Facilitation is not motivational speaking. Training facilitation is about your ability to derive the understanding and the knowledge and the concepts from the participants rather than you telling them what is what. So it is about respecting the ability of the participants to decipher and discover the learning rather than being told. So it's not a top-down approach, it is a derivation approach, and it's a very beautiful process. So what is the 4 quadrants of facilitation? Essentially, the 4 quadrants of facilitation involves 4 things. You can just concentrate on each of my fingers to understand how to navigate through these fingers, to have to navigate through these 4 areas in facilitation and make your program very powerful and effective. The first is, of course, the introduction to the topic. What is the topic that we are going to discuss today? Second is the activity. Now, this is the heart of the facilitation process. This particular finger, it is the heart of the facilitation process, the activity. Without an activity, there really is no facilitation. And I'm not referring to an activity in terms of interactive dialogue that the facilitator has with the participants. That's part of facilitation, but that's not an activity. That's an activity that you do. Interact with participants. Engage in a question-based discussion. But when I refer to an activity here, it means what the participants will do. Third is concept. So from the activity, you derive the concept by engaging with the participant through question-based discussion. When you give an activity, you give a brief about the activity, and when you're deriving the concept, you debrief that activity. And finally, it is summary of the concept discussed, the key points, and how to apply them in your life, in your workspaces. So this is the 4 quadrants of facilitation. Quadrant 1 is the introduction to the topic. Quadrant 2 is the activity to derive the concept, which is the third, and the fourth is the summary and the application. Now, the important thing here is when you are planning for a session, when you are developing the content around it, you must be very clear about the big idea of that particular session. You will have one big idea about the whole workshop as such, but within that workshop, for example, it's a workshop on professional excellence. So it will have 4 or 5 modules: time management, stress management, communication, collaboration, so on and so forth. But for each session, each module, you should have a big idea. What is the meaning of the big idea? The big idea is the big objective. By the end of that particular session, what is the one takeaway that I want all participants to take away with them? Which is why one of the things I love doing at the end of a particular session is to ask everybody, what is the most important message that you got from this particular session? So if there are 20 participants, at least 80% of them get it right. I think somewhere the session is a success. And the reason you also do that is to reiterate. Let's say a lot of people didn't get the message. Everybody said, mostly people said different things. Then what you do is, it gives you an opportunity to reiterate. I respect everybody's opinion here. However, the big idea of this session is actually this. So you get an opportunity to reiterate in case it's got missed out by the participants. So now let's do the 4 quadrants of facilitation with an example. So let's say you're doing a session on time management. So what is the big idea of that session? The big idea of that session is that by the end of this session, participants should have been able to derive the 4 quadrants of the Eisenhower matrix, which is essentially urgent and important, important but not urgent, urgent but not important, and not important and not urgent. So this is what you want them to take away with them as the big idea from this particular session. So how do you start? So you'd say that, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to this session on time management today. So you have done the introduction, the first quadrant is done. Now let's straight away get into an activity. The activity is, I want you to reflect from the time you get up in the morning till the time you go back to sleep in the night. Maybe you get up at 6 and sleep at 11, for example. On a typical working day, what are the different activities that you will do? So write down in as much detail as you can, hour by hour, what are the various activities that you accomplish throughout the day. And now you go to the concept and you say, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce to you the time management quadrant, the Eisenhower matrix. And I want you to now reflect on the activity that you did and identify which activities fall into which of those quadrants. So if a lot of your activities are in urgent and important, that means you are in a stress zone. If majority of your activities are in important but not urgent, that means you are able to plan your day in a better way. Look at how many activities are there in urgent but not important, and not urgent and not important. And you give examples for each of those areas, and you ask the participants, after they have slotted, where do they find themselves more? And where should actually they be spending a lot of time? Is it in urgent and important, or it should be in important but not urgent? So majority of your activities should be in important but not urgent. That shows your life is better planned. You are able to prioritize better. You are in more control of your activities and your day on an average day, in a typical way. So now what you have done is you did the introduction of the topic, which is time management. You give them an activity, you brief the activity. From that, using a question-based discussion, and you have debriefed the activity, but before that you have also given them the concept, which is the Eisenhower matrix, the time management quadrant. And now, again, if you want, you can do one group activity and ask people to summarize the key learnings from this particular session. And also ask them, where will you and how will you apply what you learned today in your workspace or even in your personal life. So you have navigated beautifully from introduction to activity to concept to summary and application. And again, before you close, you reiterate the big idea that this is the Eisenhower matrix, this is the time management quadrant, and this is where you should be able to plan your life in a better way so that majority of your activities fall into important but not urgent areas. So this is the 4 quadrants of facilitation. To reiterate, introduction, activity, concept, summary, and application. This is how you navigate. And you used question-based discussions, you use interactivity, and you always ask open-ended questions. Don't ask close-ended questions. So don't ask, how was the activity? Now that's a close-ended question. Somebody might be in a bad mood and said, there was a horrible activity. You lost the plot. So what is the better way to ask? What did you learn from this particular activity? What are the learnings for you from this activity? So, where else can you apply this concept? What are the key learnings? So these are all open-ended questions. So if you want to be a great facilitator, you want to be a great trainer, practice the 4 quadrants of facilitation. Because facilitation is an art. Facilitation is also a skill. It needs to be practiced. We have this tendency to just go and speak. We love it. But that is where you need to resist your temptation. And you need to derive the learning rather than impose the learning. That is instruction-based learning is called teaching. We are not, in the corporate world, you want to really make an impact on your audience. You don't want to be a teacher there, you want to be a facilitator. That's how you will get acceptance from the participants. An adult learning principle, you have to respect what they already know. So I hope you could get some value out of this 4 quadrants of facilitation. Do share it with as many people as you can. Feel free to put your questions or your statements or whatever you feel in the comment section, and I'll be happy to reach out to you. You can also drop me a mail at hariharan@thehssc.com. Keep watching my videos. Keep subscribing to my YouTube channel, Hariharan Iyer, the Entertainer. Do subscribe to my YouTube channel, Hariharan Iyer, the Entertainer. Fun life lessons. There are over 1,000 learning videos out there. And till we meet again, God bless you, and do take good care of yourself.